Welcome to The Explainer. It's a strange feeling, right? Trying to remember your childhood and just hitting a blank. Today, we're going to dig into the fascinating and sometimes complex reasons why so many of us have these huge gaps where our memories are supposed to be.
And this is such a common feeling. You know you had a fifth birthday party because there are pictures, but can you actually remember it? It's like your own past is this story that's been told to you, not something you really lived yourself.
So let's get right into it. Why are those early memories so slippery? Is this just a normal part of being human, something everyone goes through, or could it be a sign of something deeper going on? Okay, first up, let's talk about the most common reason, which is something that actually happens to all of us. It's a totally normal part of growing up. It has a name, actually: childhood amnesia. And no, it's not just because it was a long time ago. It's a very specific feature of our development. Think about it. Our brains just aren't wired yet to hang on to those long-term retrievable memories in the first few years of life. And check this out. This graph is fascinating because it literally maps our memory across a whole lifetime. See how it dips way, way down at the very beginning? That huge valley right there? Yep, that's childhood amnesia, clear as day. So why the gap? Well, it boils down to a perfect storm of three things. First, your brain's memory hub, the hippocampus, is basically a construction zone. Second, you don't have the language yet to label things and file them away as memories. And third, you don't really have a solid sense of me yet, so it's tough to build a personal life story around your experiences. But what if those memory gaps feel bigger than that? What if they stretch way past your toddler years? Well, that's when we start moving beyond normal forgetting and into some other, more specific reasons. Yeah, there's this condition called severely deficient autobiographical memory, or SDAM for short. It's kind of like you know the facts of your past. You can say, I went to Disney World when I was 8, but you can't actually re-experience it. You can't mentally transport yourself back there to feel the sun or hear the music. The facts are there, but the feeling, the first-person movie, is missing. Even our earliest relationships can play a role here. Psychologists talk about attachment styles, basically how we learn to connect with our parents. And it turns out people with a certain style, often called dismissing, who might have learned early on to kind of push down their big emotions, well, they often report having very few childhood memories. It's a fascinating link. All right, now we're going to get into what is probably the most profound reason for memory loss. And that is the mind's incredibly powerful built-in instinct to protect itself. So, when we face something that's just too much, something overwhelming or traumatic, the brain has this defense mechanism called dissociation. Think of it like a circuit breaker. It disconnects you from your memories, your feelings, even your own identity, just to shield you from the full force of what's happening. To really get this, it helps to think of your memory like a library. First, an experience happens, and your brain encodes it. That's like writing a brand new book. Then it gets stored, filed away on a shelf in your mental library. And finally, when you want to remember it, you have to retrieve it. You have to go find that book. Now, here's the key difference. Normal forgetting is like the ink in the book fading over time. But dissociative amnesia, that's your brain actively, though unconsciously, taking a book, putting it in a locked vault, and throwing away the key. It's not that the memory is gone, it's that access is being blocked. It's an act of self-protection. And this isn't just some abstract psychological idea. We're talking about real physical changes to the brain. We now know that severe stress, especially early in life, can literally change the brain's architecture. So what triggers this kind of extreme protection? Well, it's often things like childhood abuse or neglect, witnessing violence, or other kinds of life-changing trauma. The more severe or long-lasting the traumatic experience, the more likely the brain is to resort to this kind of defense. And here's the hard science to back it up. Research has shown a direct link between these kinds of adverse childhood experiences and long-term deficits in the brain's memory circuits. That same memory hub we talked about before, the hippocampus, it can actually be physically impacted, affecting its ability to work properly for the rest of a person's life. So, what's it actually like to live with these gaps? And what does the future look like for people who experience this? What's wild is that a person with dissociative amnesia often has no idea they're missing memories. It's not like a big black hole they're aware of. They might only find out when a friend says, "Hey, remember when we did that?" And they have absolutely no recollection.
And if those memories do start to come back, it can be incredibly confusing, sometimes even showing up as sudden, intense flashbacks.
You might think this is super rare, but it's more common than you'd expect. The American Psychiatric Association estimates it affects almost 2% of people worldwide every year. I mean, that's a lot of people walking around with these protective walls built inside their own history. But here's some good news. For most people, this isn't necessarily a permanent thing. The memories can come back over time. Now, that process of recovery can be really, really tough, which is why getting help from a therapist is so important to navigate it all safely.
So here's the big takeaway. Forgetting your childhood isn't just one thing, it's a whole spectrum. For most of us, it's just normal brain development. For others, it might be a unique memory style. And for some, those gaps are a quiet, powerful sign of the mind's incredible ability to protect itself from a past that was just too painful to bear.
Which leaves us with a pretty deep question to think about, right? If our memories are what make us who we are, then who are we without them? What does it mean for our identity when parts of our own story are missing?